Companies are out of control. We're giving them way too much leeway these days. This trend of sexualizing children, for whatever reason, is sickening. Companies and governments openly supporting kids being taken to queer strip shows, and teachers and school boards introducing sexualized literature into the curriculum under the guise of gender and kink inclusion. Even Netflix couldn't resist hopping on the Epstein airways with their preteen softcore drama. Cuties, a movie about sexually exploiting children by sexually exploiting children. That's like killing someone to demonstrate that murder is bad, which is still alive, by the way. But today, we're talking about Balenciaga. But before we jump into all that, let's swing it over to my sponsor. This video is sponsored by emotionsforethan.org. Ethan is a person that I know. I wouldn't call him a friend, but someone that I unfortunately no. Ethan was born without emotions. He is really, really autistic. The only time I've ever seen his face light up is if you talk about crypto. But that was also before the crash, so I haven't spoken to him in a bit. But needless to say, I do believe there is a real human boy underneath the dense layer of social inaptitude. So if you head over to emotionsforethan.org and click the donate button, if you donate, reach our goal of $600,000 this year, I will be one step closer to my research and finding emotions for Ethan. So Balenciaga released 2 ad campaigns this week, and both of which were really creepy and ended up getting taken down and forced them to release some apologies. The first of which is their Christmas 2022 collection, featuring a teddy bear style purse with some bondage gear. How anyone at Balenciaga for a second thought, hey, we have this weird little creepy sex kink product. Why don't we add a child to that mix? That's going to increase our sales. How, like anyone, nobody thought this through in the entire company. How many people work at Balenciaga? I mean, you sell this very plain looking t-shirt for €535. You can't hire someone to just, I don't know, maybe double check you're not exploiting children in your ad campaigns. It seems like a reasonable expense, Balenciaga. I myself am someone that likes to push the boundaries of what's acceptable and what's not. But I think we could universally agree that sexualizing children is not a good idea. I'm not a mathematician. Heck, I didn't even pass high school. But I think there's one quantum equation we can all solve, and it's sex plus children equal bad. I know, a hot take by 2022 standards. So like this one's also particularly creepy. It has the same, she's blurred out, but it has the same girl from like the last photo we took a look at. She's seemingly like passed out on this couch with like empty beer cans here at the bottom, and then like empty wine glasses strewn about as well. I mean, who shot this? Who did the art design on this set? Did they hire Bill Cosby? I mean, like, I heard he's available.
You make me feel very excited.
Actually, he might be dead. Somebody Google that. This one I'd say is like a little more tame. I mean, clearly by the stuff on the bed and like the fishnet shirt and everything, like it comes off as like more of like rave vibes than like, you know, anything more deep and sinister. But I'd still say it's an odd choice to use a child as like a backdrop piece in this thing, because I mean, like, have you ever been to a rave? I mean, it's a lot of depravity and drugs. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going to a rave and doing drugs and getting messed up. I am a big proponent of having fun, but I mean, like, again, that's just like a weird way to juxtapose with a child. There was this photo in like a child's room that people were saying online. They're like, oh, everything they circled, they're like, oh, look at all this demon stuff. There's a bunch of demon stuff. That's just like one thing. I don't know if that one really gets to me. I think that's just like a little far-fetched. It's a bit of a reach. But I mean, like, if you look at the child's room, it looks like the room of like a disturbed child. And I don't think this one, if it was just by itself, it'd be as bad. But kind of in context with everything else, it kind of makes you really think again about like the artist's what were they trying to say here? This is Blink-182's Adam's song condensed in a room. Please tell Mom this is not her fault. But like I mentioned, that is just their 2022 winter Christmas campaign. They also, at the same time, released ads for their spring 2023 campaign, which unfortunately they also caught backlash on. That's 2 for 2 at the same time, which is like crazy to me. So this is specifically for a line that they were doing in collaboration with Adidas. The ad campaign also featured Nicole Kidman, and everything kind of just takes place in an office setting, which, you know, seems innocuous, but then when you start zooming in on things, you're like, oh, this is creepy. For instance, if you look at this photo over here, like at first glance, you're like, that looks kind of normal. And then you look at these books back here, and then if you do some internet sleuthing and look at let's do my high-tech private investigator level zoom in technology. It's really blurry, but it says Michael Borman. If you look up Michael Borman's work online, he's an artist that does a bunch of paintings and like art galleries, but then you start looking at some of his art, which I can't show here because it's not going to pass YouTube's guidelines, but I mean, like, the art is castrated children playing with their genitalia that's been cut off on the floor, who are naked and covered in blood. I don't even have a punchline to that. That is literally what the painting is. Look it up if you care. And then there's also this photo, which really blew up. Again, at first glance, everything seems kind of normal. It's just a purse on a desk that's pretty busy. But if you whip out the trusty zoom in technology once again, boop, 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 boop. And again, it is kind of blurry in this picture. So if you zoom in on the paper and then start, Googling and backtracing what was being said on the papers, you get brought to United States v. Williams, a 2008 court case in which Williams, the defendant, was trying to have sexually explicit content featuring children be protected under the First Amendment, under free speech. And again, just like some of the other stuff we looked at here, this by itself wouldn't be that bad. Weird, but not bad. But in context of everything else Balenciaga put out at the same time, you're like, what are your values as a company? So this blows up. All the major news publications are talking about cancel Balenciaga. This is sick and disgusting, as they should. I mean, this is like some of the stupidest things I've ever seen. Even probably maybe even dumber than what Simons did during the same week. You could check that video out if you're interested. Balenciaga issues an apology that, I don't know, in the apology, they take full responsibility for promoting child abuse, while simultaneously pointing the finger at the marketing firm that put these ads together, called North 6. Balenciaga is now suing North 6 for $25 million for, quote, to seek redress for extensive damages defendants caused in connection with an advertising campaign Balenciaga hired them to produce. And again, Balenciaga does openly take responsibility and say that it's their fault, but at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know, it doesn't come off as genuine. Like, if no one, like, they definitely, this is like a company that, that it's an art company, right? So it's like everything they do, it's gone over with a fine-tooth comb. So this apology, the idea of this apology being like, oh, we're sorry, this was an oversight, like, I'm kind of just not buying that. This is something that they approve of, and the only reason they're even apologizing is because they're backlash. Like, this isn't something that slipped through the cracks. This is something that they think is okay. Balenciaga isn't the only ones trying to push the blame onto somebody else, though. North 6 is kind of doing the same thing. They spoke to the New York Post, and they said that they did not produced the teddy bear campaign. As for the ads with the court papers, the rep said the company produced and managed the logistics and contracted the set designer. So they're kind of saying like, well, we didn't actually like put everything together either. In the same article from the New York Post, North 6 continues to point fingers back at Balenciaga and even possibly the photographers by saying they had, quote, no creative control or input and was not on the set during final set arrangements. So again, passing the buck as Balenciaga did before them, but those wouldn't be the only two parties involved trying not to take responsibility for this. Gabrielle Galimberti, who shot the Bear campaign, had this to say: wasn't in control of the, quote, direction of the campaign and the choice of the objects displayed. So seemingly nobody involved in this entire debacle is saying, yeah, that was my idea. But you look at all of her past work and it's seemingly all the same. It's just all kind of involves children. Even on this one, if you zoom in at the bottom left, there's like a Barbie doll that's like has full of blood coming out from its private part region, which is like, what is that supposed to insinuate? So you got photographers who, of course, aren't going to be at fault because, well, I mean, they didn't pick what was in the pictures. They just took the pictures themselves, even though at any point they could have said, yo, this is creepy, I'm not doing this. You got the marketing campaign that's saying like, hey, we just did the logistics and put everything together for you guys, but we didn't actually do any of the art direction. And then you got Balenciaga saying, well, I mean, we didn't actually also do the art direction, so suing you for $25 million. Kim Kardashian, who was like a brand ambassador for Balenciaga, put out a statement essentially saying that she is considering not taking their money in the future. It was honestly kind of just a non-statement. She just states that she was trepidatious about making a decision, and she is deciding to wait to make a decision. Fair. I mean, I guess she didn't jump the gun. And as of the day I'm recording this, you also got Balenciaga heavily supporting anti-Semitism by Kanye West wearing a Balenciaga mask while on Alex Jones's InfoWars.
Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
Okay, bye.